The latest on plans to manage Arizona's water supply.
The deal was a little bit too fragile for the federal government to say yes.
A Tucson developer offers a temporary home to migrants at a former monastery.
A fantastic opportunity, and I could not believe his generosity.
And getting a rare insight into Arizona football, our conversation with the coach.
We can't do anything about what happened in the past.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you for joining us. This week, much of the focus on Arizona athletics honed in on men's basketball as news broke that Coach Sean Miller would be subpoenaed to testify in a college basketball corruption case. However, our focus is on the university's football program and a rare sit-down interview with head coach Kevin Sumlin. Sumlin wrapped up his first season last fall. We begin with an excerpt of that conversation, starting with his approach to leading one of Southern Arizona's most closely watched teams.
Bear down. How's that? There we go.
One of the things you said in your first press conference, you wanted to see these guys from developed young men to grown men.
Right.
Why is that important to you in this program?
That's why we do it. I mean, for me, my dad was a high school coach, then he became an administrator, was a principal, and my mom was a third grade teacher. So, you know, education is about growing and about learning and about, you know, everybody's different. And so for me, you know, the big difference between college football and pro football is we for whatever crazy reason, I really enjoy watching guys grow from young men to men. I mean, from 17 to 21, 22, 23, there's a lot going on. And there's a lot of teachable situations, a lot of learning situations. You see guys who some people didn't think had a chance. Some people thought they had some other issues, and now they're really productive, you know, husbands, family men, working in society, beyond football. And from some of the situations they came from, where really the chances were, you know, slim to none that they would be that.
How important is that relationship building with your players and your staff to ensure that it makes its way onto the field?
As long as there's no hidden agendas, as long as you know where you stand, I think it eliminates some problems. I say this a bunch. And don't ever ask me, why is so-and-so playing? Just ask me why I'm not playing, because it doesn't do us any good, me any good, or you any good to stand next to me on Saturday. We want everybody, all hands on deck. That makes us better.
We'll return to our discussion with Coach Sumlin later in the show. Among the topics we cover, growing the team's fan base and moving past some of the program's previous controversies. A little over a month ago, all the talk at Arizona's Capitol was about whether lawmakers could pass a drought contingency plan ahead of a deadline at the end of January. It's one of 7 states that needs a plan to help maintain levels in Colorado River reservoirs like Lake Mead, and it appeared Arizona came up with a solution in time, although it wasn't what the federal government expected. Arizona may still comply if lawmakers can finish signing agreements by early March. Luke Runyon covers the Colorado River Basin for KUNC Radio in northern Colorado. Via Skype, we got his take on where things stand. Luke, thanks so much for your time. Let's begin with your clarifying. Did Arizona meet its deadline?
It depends on who you ask. If you ask people in Arizona, they'll say, yes, we did. We passed a bill through the legislature. That's what we were supposed to do. If you ask representatives from the Bureau of Reclamation with the federal government, they would say no, the state had too many loose ends. There were side agreements between the state, between individual water districts, between tribes that had not been finished, and that the deal was a little bit too fragile for the federal government to say, yes, you have met this particular deadline.
You've been following this pretty closely. What's maybe one of the larger hiccups that is probably unbeknownst to many people who are sitting at home watching this unfold?
I've actually been really interested in watching what's going on in California, in Southern California. So that's another state that did not meet the deadline, just like Arizona. And there you have a situation with the Salton Sea, which is this large kind of accidental lake that's been drying up for a really long time and is causing tons of public health problems. And that has been something that the state of California and a large water district there has been working towards getting funding for. And they're seeing they have a lot of power within these negotiations over the drought contingency plan. They're saying, we're not going to sign on to this until we have a final solution for the Salton Sea.
When you say everyone, we're talking about agriculture. Are we also talking about things like golf courses and swimming pools?
Somewhat. But really, when you look at the numbers, it's a lot of it is agriculture. Within the entire Colorado River Basin, agriculture uses about 80% of the water. And if you're looking for places to cut back, a lot of times ag is the first place that you look, simply for the fact that they have the rights to the vast majority of the water. That said, there are urban conservation programs that are being talked about, not just in Phoenix, but in all sorts of large metropolitan areas within the Colorado River Basin. But there you're talking about just a smaller amount of water. So if the whole idea behind the drought contingency plan is we need to cut back water use, a lot of times the conversation immediately pivots towards agriculture just because they have the most water.
Okay, agriculture uses the most water. Agriculture feeds us, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so what does that then do for our food supply?
I mean, you're looking at areas that in central Arizona, you have Pinal County, and that's an area where you're growing a lot of animal feed. You're looking at alfalfa hay that goes towards feeding dairy cows or beef cattle. And so some people would say that you've got that isn't necessarily feeding people, it's feeding animals. But at the same time, you've got agriculture that does feed people. You look at the Imperial Valley of California, and you've got tons of winter vegetables that are grown there. If you're eating a salad in December, it's most likely being watered by Colorado River water. And so you can't completely eliminate agriculture from the Colorado River Basin because our diets would have to change, or global markets for produce would have to change.
Even if this plan reaches some sort of deal in the very near future, it essentially only buys us time until 2026, in which case, do we have another round of conversations like this one?
Yes, and they are going to be even more difficult. So this is an update to a set of guidelines that were passed in 2007. And the discussions to get those 2007 guidelines were incredibly difficult. And this next round of negotiations is going to be even harder because there are going to be thorny issues that get brought up where you have the two basins within the Colorado River, the upper basin and the lower basin, trying to find answers to really long-term problems that there aren't easy answers. And a lot of times there are conflicting answers between what some states want and what other states want. So they're going to be very, very difficult, and those are going to start up pretty much as soon as the drought contingency plan is finished.
This week, the House of Representatives passed a resolution to block President Trump's emergency declaration at the border, and the Senate took steps to vote on the same measure. Since the president declared an emergency to build more barriers, many have questioned his power to do so. For a better understanding, we turn to Robert Glennon, a constitutional law expert and professor at the University of Arizona, James E. Rogers College of Law. We have had presidents declare national emergencies in the past.
Yes, often. And in fact, in 1976, Congress passed the National Emergencies Act, giving the president authority to do just that. And the problem is that in that act, Congress didn't define what an emergency was. So it's really wide open. And
even today, we don't have a clear definition?
oh, absolutely, we do not.
Okay.
And so if you think about the fact that the president is the chief executive, is the commander-in-chief, and Congress has passed this sweeping law, and everyone admits there's a problem with the border. I mean, what kind of problem? How should we deal with it? It's a different thing, but there is a problem. I don't see a court overturning his decision that there's an emergency.
Under this declaration, if he says, I'm going to reallocate pots of money under the federal budget, and I'm the commander-in-chief, and I throw the military in, is he clear and free?
No. Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
In addition to the statutory questions, the basic one is separation of powers. He's the executive, not the legislature. And under Article 1, it's Congress that appropriates money and tells the executive how to spend it. And there's a famous, iconic Supreme Court case from the 1950s. It involved President Truman, who tried to take over the steel industry. And the U.S. Supreme Court held that he could not because Congress hadn't authorized him to do so. And what has come from that is a sense of the president having three different pots of power. The broadest power is when Congress says, you have the authority to do this. In the middle is when Congress is silent. But where the president's power is at the lowest is if Congress has implicitly or explicitly said, you can't do this.
If this ends up in the courts, which it likely will, how's it likely to play out? I mean, when you just look at the Constitution and the legality of all this.
I think that there's a very powerful argument that what he's done is directly contrary to what the consensus agreement achieved. I mean, the Senate and the House fought long and hard over what to appropriate, how to protect the border. They made some decisions. He just doesn't like them. And I think the courts will be very protective of Congress.
Okay. Here in Arizona, if the president says we need areas of wall to be built on a border that happens to be owned by a private rancher, can that happen?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution provides that private property shall not be taken for public use except upon payment of just compensation. So the first issue is it a public use? And yes, it is. It's border security. So that part's pretty clear. But the second part is just compensation. And if the two parties can't agree to an amount for what the property is worth, the private property owner has a right to a hearing. There's another wrinkle, though, Lorraine, here, which is really interesting, which is, of course, the Tohono Reservation. Because there, I think 62 miles of the reservation of the nation are on the border, and Congress, those tribal lands can't be taken away without congressional approval. Well, Congress and the House of Representatives is not going to approve that.
If it goes to the court, how is this likely to play out? Does it eventually make its way to the Supreme Court?
It could. I mean, there are a number of different lawsuits. One of them involves, I think, 16 states that are suing, claiming that they have grants or otherwise appropriations under various Department of Defense acts. And if he does this, they'll lose out on money. But that's kind of tautological, because if Congress has allowed him to declare an emergency, and if the border is an emergency, and they've let him move DOD funds around, the states don't really have much of a right to say, well, he can't do what Congress has authorized.
Do you suppose that following all this, we may have some sort of act that clearly defines what an emergency is?
Oh, yeah. I think already the members are looking at one another and saying, how did we ever let this kind of executive power be put in place?
Fair to say it sets a bad precedent for the future, though, for future
Well,
presidents?
I think, yes, or for future Congresses. And I think that's what's troubling some of the Republicans who would otherwise like to support the president, which is they understand that there will be Democrats in the Oval Office, and if it's good for Mr. Trump, it's good for whomever.
Correct. Okay, Robert, thank you.
Pleasure to be with you.
For almost 80 years, Tucson's Benedictine Monastery was home to the Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. About a year ago, they sold the property to a local developer. It's been vacant since, until recently. Nancy Montoya shows us the latest group finding sanctuary within the monastery's walls.
After a 6-hour ride on a Homeland Security bus from El Paso, Texas, the Central American families arrive at the Tucson Benedictine Monastery. They carry their most precious possessions. At first, the iconic building brought little comfort to many families that had traveled for weeks and endured hardships to seek sanctuary in the U.S. Like the sisters that once called the monastery home, Guatemalan sisters Maritza and Yoli Viega are also believers in the power of prayer. After being separated at the border, they were reunited here at the monastery.
I ran out running like I was crazy. I saw her first. I was up where the window is, and I was watching people, one by one, get out of the bus. And I started praying, "Dear God, please let my sister come. Let my sister come." And then I saw her, and I came running down.
The Villegas sisters had made the journey, each with a toddler. They are among the 800 families finding sanctuary at the monastery in recent weeks, with the help of Catholic Community Services.
Gracias.
Now, since 2014, CCS and other faith-based groups have run Casalitas, a small house manned by volunteers that helps migrant families just arriving in Tucson. But the house can only shelter a few families at a time. About 6 weeks ago, the current owner of the Benedictine Monastery, Ross Rulney, gave Catholic Community Services permission to use the now vacant property as a temporary shelter for asylum-seeking families. That was welcome news for Teresa Cavendish of CCS, who had rented hotel rooms with donated money and relied on the interdenominational church community to open their doors in efforts to accommodate the large influx of migrant families.
I was beyond excited because I had been staring at this monastery for a very long time since Casalitas had been in effect and thinking, wouldn't that be a fantastic place to provide these kind of services to the families?
My name is Diego Javier Pina Lopez. I am from Casalitas. I am the lead program coordinator.
Peña Lopez says that within days of getting the key, the monastery became a kind of Casalitas on steroids.
We've taken a lot of the good practices we have at Casalitas, and we're trying to fine-tune them into better and giving more resources. Before, where we couldn't, when we had somebody sick, we had to call doctors and have people come. Now we have about, I think today, about 9 medical professionals volunteering for us.
In addition, volunteers have shown up in droves. The Villegas sisters say volunteers have helped translate, assist with travel arrangements, as well as provide clean clothes and a safe place to sleep. And to their delight, there is an all-important kitchen volunteer crew that prepares 3 meals a day. Cavendish says that without the volunteers and all those who drop off food and supplies daily, none of this would be possible. And it all started with the developer who has temporarily donated the space, including the cost of utilities.
Such a fantastic opportunity, and I could not believe his generosity and his goodness that was coming through and giving us this opportunity.
The Villegas sisters say here their prayers were answered. God is great, says Maritza, and the love of God has never left us.
Developer Ross Rolney told us it was a chance meeting that led him to open the monastery's doors to Catholic Community Services. In our studio, we asked him more about that decision, as well as his eventual plans for the property. You happen to have the space, but you certainly didn't have to do this, so why did you?
I mean, I have the space and I don't have a use for it right now, so if there's something, I've made it available to other choir groups just to bring life into the property while I don't have any real benefit or economic benefit to it. And if there was ever a need or a use for it, this has got to be right up there, and it's really neat to see.
I know a number of organizations are grateful for your generosity right now, but are you catching any flack from perhaps the community around that area that's not quite comfortable with the current population that's there?
So I've heard little things, why not help this group or that group, and on social media, which I'm not very much a part of, I've heard from my daughter or my wife or something like that, why not this group? But it's not really that so much thought went into it. Like I said, it was just an innocent conversation that took place, and I jumped in, and it just went from there, and it's really turned out to be such a wonderful, positive thing.
How long will this likely last, that this will be a temporary space?
So our current agreement goes through May, but if my entitlements or my rezoning process takes longer, then because of what I've experienced and just watching the Catholic Community Services, how terrific they are, how organized they are, they've got it down. And if there's an opportunity for them to stay longer, then that's probably great for everybody, especially the asylum-seeking migrants. Yeah.
Where are you in working with the city or listening to the community around the monastery and saying that, you know, your voice, I'm hearing it. It may not be part of the final plan, but I do hear your concerns.
And we're talking about the concerns for the long-term goal.
Long-term plans.
So I think we've mitigated most of those concerns. Working again with Ward 6 and, you know, Steve's tough. And he taught me a lot through the process, and we got there. There was some horse trading and trying to figure out what was important to each side to come out with some fairness and negotiate some balance between all parties, and we got there. We got there with the neighbors, we got there with mayor and council, I believe, and now it's just a continued process. The plan amendment was approved. 7-0, which was, to me, a symbolic vote of strength. And now we just have to go through the pad, and that's what we're currently doing right now.
What is your overall hope and goal for this property?
The undeveloped portion of the property will be market rate residential, luxury. I mean, just beautiful stuff, and I'm really excited to put that out there publicly. The inside, there may be a mixed component of residential and retail, public space. I imagine that the chapel will absolutely be a public space where people could come in throughout the day and maybe the evening, food service and different things like that, where it's really just an active, warm, lit up environment daily, and that's kind of what we're shooting for.
The way you describe it really is sort of like a heart of Tucson, and now it's kind of taken on a whole new meaning right now in this current landscape.
Well, and for me it's bittersweet. I go to bed sometimes or wake up in the morning, you know, frustrated that things just take so long through my development process and the entitlement process. But then again, it's nice to go to bed at night thinking about what's going on over there today.
Okay, you might be one of those few people who can make mostly everyone happy.
Thank you for that.
Okay, all right, Ross, thank you.
My pleasure.
We now return to our conversation with U of A football coach Kevin Sumlin. Our discussion picks up with the relationship he's formed with his players. Early on, you said that academics are important to you. How are you going, making sure your players are held accountable?
Well, I think, you know, in the short time we've been here, I think we've had the highest GPA in the last semester and I don't know how long. I think, you know, we work well with our administration, but we also work well with our academic people, and it's important. I mean, we manage this, and you're not just here to play football, and you're not just here to stay eligible. You're here to get a degree, and a meaningful degree, and so all those pieces are mapped out during the day, whether they're tutorials, whether they're study sessions, whether they're group study sessions. All those are part of your schedule, just like strength and conditioning, just like when you're going to eat. And so we have a plan for all of our student athletes. Our job is to put you in a position to have as many choices in life. And what is that, right? Well, there's a great degree professionally, because football ends for everybody at a certain point. And then if you have followed the other part of the plan, you might have an opportunity to play on Sunday. And so there's nothing wrong with working towards both those goals at the same time when you're here.
So you do, I mean, you make no bones about it. You may not end up in the NFL, in which case you should take your time here seriously. Right.
That's no doubt, because as I said, football ends for everybody at a certain point. You can't play till you're, you know, whatever. So for some guys it ends early. It ends their freshman year. They might have a serious injury. They might have an issue. For some guys, hey, look, I might play. You know, if you sign a second contract in the NFL after 4 years, you play 6 years. Right? That's great. Right? But you're 27 years old at this point. What are you going to do the rest of your life? Right? So this is about preparation for life.
One of the things you said that I think has probably made some fans excited is that you like to look at the pool within the state and around Why is that of value to you?
Well, I think it's important because no one cares more than the people who live around you. You know what I mean? And so in January this year, we were in over 100 high schools in the state of Arizona. Had never seen a head coach from the University of Arizona, and it was important for me from a relationship standpoint because, you know, we want those coaches, those communities, and those young men to want to come to the University of Arizona, to come to Tucson, great university. You don't have to get on a plane and go 600 miles or go across the country to be successful.
Let's talk fan base, because I know that's something you want to see energized here in Arizona. We have late start times.
Yeah.
We've made some headlines for good and not so good things when it comes to football. What do you say to the fans who are still making those decisions about whether or not they want to continue supporting the program?
Well, I think it's, you know, we've got to do our part and put a great product on the field. And we're doing that through recruiting and still and development. But, you know, there's no doubt that the energy in the stadium and the fan base affect games. You know, I've gone through this at different times. You know, I was in a league where it was really, really hot, and you know the primetime game started at 2:30 in the afternoon, which was, I mean, it's cooking, right? So, you know, you kind of deal with it, and television and exposure really drive a program to a national product.
Regarding some of the negative news that's come out of the program, a lot of it wasn't under your watch.
Right.
What's your message to the guys as far as kind of keeping their head above the water and just maintaining a focus on the end game?
Well, you know, it's as we talked about as a staff, you know, we can't do anything about what happened in the past. What we can do something about is what's going on right now. You know, as some of these things come out, you know, it's difficult, but you know, we weren't here. You know, we talk about what our standards are here, what our expectations are here for our program, you know, what that looks like, and then the educational piece of, hey, listen, here's how we want to do things. Here's what the behavioral expectations are in this program. Here's what we're going to hold you accountable for. And when you got 120 guys, you know, it's and young men, and anybody who's had children knows that you're going to make mistakes. All right, so, but what's acceptable, what our educational piece is, what do we want from you, and what we're going to hold you accountable for, and I think our guys understand that right now.
That's all for now. Thanks for joining us. To get in touch, visit us on social media and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.